If your goal is to get more healthy and you want to live a healthier lifestyle, there's one thing everyone forgets, and that's flexibility. I started FitLife training 25 years ago, and the reason I started it was because I was struggling with my own healthy lifestyle and my own results from exercise. So it's been over 30 years, and I've learned a ton in that time period, and some of it on flexibility, which is always forgotten about, I want to share with you today. I'm not going to get into the science or the philosophy of why stretching is important. It's all over the internet. You can find that anywhere you want. What I'm just going to give you today is my experience on how flexibility has helped me and how I know it can help you in your healthy programs moving forward. So the most important thing for me was we all start the same way, and that is we got to get our exercise in, and we get good at that first. And then we start with our nutrition because we know that's important too. So we really work on our nutrition. And then one of the things that happens so often is you start to get these aches and pains. So the first decade, by the time I finished my first decade of exercise, I had more aches and pains than I did see results from all the other stuff I was doing. So all the nutrition stuff and all the exercise stuff was great, but I was riddled with aches and pains. And then the second decade of lifting and exercise and then trying to find this really healthy lifestyle and achieve all the goals that I wanted to achieve was riddled with injuries. And not small injuries, but muscles ripping off bones, torn muscles, and just the constant pain in joints, waking up every morning feeling miserable. And that wasn't the way that I envisioned a good healthy lifestyle, and nor is it the way a good healthy style should be. In that first decade, while I was riddled with just chronic aches and pains, I wanted to incorporate yoga just from a sales perspective into our offerings that we offered our clients. So I got one of my trainers that was interested in yoga, took her to a certification. I went with her. She didn't want to go by herself. And after a weekend in that yoga class, I felt better than I'd felt the entire time I've been exercising. And I realized at that point, this is the piece I was missing. I was missing flexibility, and just taking some time to stretch and relax made me feel a million times better. Although I wasn't smart enough at the time to stay with it, so I went back to my heavy lifting and lots of cardio and all the stuff that I've been doing that it was just drilled into my mind. This is where your healthy stuff is at. It's not in this stretching and this yoga and this stuff. So I let it go by the wayside, went back to my old stuff, and then here's where the really serious injuries started to come in. Beyond all the aches and pains of the first decade, in the next decade is when all the injuries really started. There was all kinds of injuries, from torn stomach muscles to torn calves, but it really went south with a torn rotator cuff, followed by 3 more surgeries for rotator cuff on both sides, as well as a torn bicep that could never be repaired. It took all this happening before I realized that flexibility is where I needed to be, and I needed to keep it in my program on a regular basis. The first part I want to talk about is some muscles that will take some abuse. So what I mean by that is, if you slip and fall, are your muscles pliable enough? Do they have enough flexibility within them to withstand a fall? Do they have enough pliability and enough flexibility in them to handle overloading them? These are all things that happen in real life, and they happen every day. My first injury was probably a combination of a boxing injury combined with just a buddy of mine jumping on my back. I wasn't ready. When we fell to the ground, I put my arm out and it sheared right off. Is there any way to tell if more flexibility would have helped that or not? There's no way to tell. But one thing's for sure, I had shortened those muscles up so short that my flexibility in my shoulders, I could barely get my arms behind my back. So there's no way it was going to take much abuse in that regard. And that's one of the things I see from people who exercise too much. The muscles get so tight, they have a limited range of motion, and here's where a ton of problems start to happen. So keeping length in those muscles so that they can take some abuse, whether it be from a fall or whether it just be from your form not being fantastic while you're doing a particular exercise. It's got some durability to it. And I just can't say enough about that. Flexibility offers you that durability. The next part is recovery. If you want to help get more recovery from your exercise, stretch those muscles out a little bit. Get some of the lactic acid and stuff out of those muscles and just help them recover. So you can put together whole routines like yoga, which actually help re-energize muscles, and you're still burning calories. You're still getting this part of this lifestyle. It isn't like you have to sit on the floor and just stretch. Yoga or Pilates, you choose what you like, but these are ways to re-energize muscles, stretch them at the same time, and create more range of motion. So I can't tell you how important it is for your overall health program to make sure your muscles are recovering and adding in that flexibility in whatever style you want. Lastly, I want to talk about muscles that don't work properly. This is a really common problem with people not seeing the results they want, and that's because they have some muscles that work too much, other muscles that don't work enough, and if you did regular stretching, it would balance all that out for you. And not that it's perfect, but if you're in a really good flexibility program, you'll know right away which muscles are tight and probably not working the way they should be, and which muscles are really loose, and they may not be working the way they're supposed to either. So I've seen people get hurt because they have too much flexibility, and I've seen people get hurt because they don't have enough flexibility. Once you start stretching, you start to figure all this stuff out for yourself. So those are the 3 reasons that I think everybody should have a flexibility routine in their program. And there's lots of different ways to work through that in your program, depending on what kind of program you're doing at what time. So that's the next part that we're going to cover. Once I decided to incorporate flexibility in my program on a regular basis, everything started to clean up and smooth out, and it's been another decade, and I've had almost no injuries and very little pain even to speak of. Especially in the rotator cuff, which all the doctors said I'd be very limited in my mobility and what I'd be able to do, I don't feel as I have any limitations. I've been able to do Olympic weightlifting, I've been able to do triathlons, powerlifting, all kinds of things that for the injuries that I've had, every doctor would say there's no way you should be able to do that. And I may be able to do them pain-free. And I relate all that to the flexibility work. This is why I think it's so important that you incorporate this into your programs. I know it's going to help with a healthier lifestyle, as well as I think you're going to see better results from your exercise. So now the question is, how do you add flexibility into your program? Does it need to be after you weight train, you sit on the floor and stretch? Does it need to be before you work out? There's lots of different ways to go about doing your flexibility. My personal experience is every workout should start with an active warm-up. And what that means is you're doing some kind of mobility work before you start your workout. It's not necessarily static stretching, so you're not sitting down on the floor and just doing stretches, but you're going through ranges of motion that you know you're going to do in that workout, or motions that you'll use on a regular basis. So we have 15 different dynamic warm-ups that we use before every workout, and they'll be on our YouTube page so you can download them and see them yourself and use them however you like. So we always start with mobility work, but it's also increasing your flexibility so that it all works together. As far as when to put flexibility, I like it on its own day. So if I really want to work on flexibility, I give that the same attention that I would give my weight training. I don't say, hey, I want to improve my bench press and then go do 30 minutes of stretching and 5 minutes of bench press when I'm done. Same thing with flexibility. If I really want to improve my flexibility, I don't give it 10 minutes at the end and say, oh, I hope that works. It deserves the same attention everything else gets. So I have a cardiovascular day, I have weight training days, and I have flexibility days. That doesn't mean you have to do it that way. You can absolutely weight train for 30 minutes and then do flexibility work for 30 minutes afterwards. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not the way that I do it. I personally don't like to stretch. It bores me. So the yoga and the Pilates style stuff works great for me. I can have a class, go in, do my hour, and then it's done. So that's the way that I recommend for most people. And that way you don't get caught in the same stretches all the time. One of the big things is we get these few that we really love and we stay in it. And yoga and Pilates have a great reputation for taking areas and finding 10 different ways to stretch the same area, while the rest of us have to try and figure out that many stretches for one particular area. You'll be there forever. So if you go to a class or you download a class, however you want to do it, and start there, that's a great way to improve your lifestyle and also to get more benefits from your weight training and your cardiovascular work. Lastly, I want to follow up. There's huge arguments on whether you need to do this kind of flexibility work. Can you get it from your weight training? Can you get it in other ways? I'm sure there is. But the goal of this video was to help you figure out how to move your lifestyle forward. Here's something for you to try. It's worked fantastic for me, and I can't say enough about it. I love my weight training. I love my cardiovascular, but this is the piece that holds that all together. As long as I'm doing my stretching, all that other stuff, the injuries really stay down and everything is much better. When I start to move away from this, it's when I have problems. So if you need help with your flexibility work, you can reach out to us at fitlifetraininglaplata@gmail.com, and we can help you with yoga programs or just flexibility work or a program design that incorporates all this.